Alrighty, after a long absence, I am finally back on this channel. Well, back on both channels as I just posted Pennywise's evolution on the animation channel, so I figured I should post a speed art of Pennywise over here. I have a whole bunch of other speed arts I've recorded, I just need to edit them, guys. I have so many Godzilla ones, a new Chucky one, and the Lakeshore Slasher, among other characters, so hopefully over the next few months I'll be posting more of them and more rankings. And apparently my Pennywise animation on the main channel actually hit the trending page in the US. I think it reached as high as number 2, right below Mr. Beast trying to plant 20 million trees, so you know it's subject matter just as important as saving the planet, what Pennywise transforms into through the series. But either way, I'm gonna include a link to the team trees down below. It's a good cause, $1 per tree planted, so if you got a buck or two, consider donating. And with that out of the way, I want to rank every It adaptation. Now this isn't going to be based on the look of the character, but instead based on how good the movie or adaptation is. So without any further rambling, let's get into what the worst adaptation of It is. And coming in at number 5 is the Indian TV series WoW. Now obviously this must have been popular with Hindi languages because it somehow lasted for 52 episodes within 1998. But because this show feels more like a long-winded soap opera rather than a horror show or an adaptation of the novel, it just isn't really that scary. There are some effective parts of the show though. I really do like the opening titles, the music and the visuals there are very creepy, but unfortunately the episodes that don't feature WoW are painfully boring, and the ones that do feature him are usually pretty silly rather than scary. I was able to watch the whole series on YouTube though, so if you look up WoW episode 1 or episode whatever, you'll be able to watch through the whole thing. But most of the time I can't fully understand what's happening as they aren't speaking English, but it's worth skimming through if you are curious. Okay, so at number 4 I'm gonna put part 2 of the miniseries. Yeah, I'm gonna split them up because they really have such a different flavor between the episodes. The second part mostly focuses on the adults and it just isn't as scary watching adults get scared. Plus none of the adults look like or even feel like the children they're supposed to be playing. I always mix up who's supposed to be who when I rewatch this. Sure, Beverly and Mike are easy to pick out, but the rest look nothing like the younger versions. Now while the ending is usually the most contested part of the movie, the whole gang fighting the giant spider, and while the execution of this scene is poor, I actually don't mind that Pennywise looks nothing like his clown form here. He looks like an unworldly creature in this final. The puppet work and model look pretty cheap, but I like that he doesn't just look like a clown. So that's the one thing I actually prefer from this version over the new film. But other than that, it's probably one of the most boring adaptations of a Stephen King work. And yeah, I don't know if I'll ever watch the second part of the miniseries again. I probably will if it's on TV or something, but I don't think I'll watch through it. Alrighty, so coming in at number 3 is going to be part 1 of the miniseries. The first half of the original adaptation works pretty well and is a huge jump in quality above the last half. It still isn't perfect, but the whole children in peril works a lot better than the adults later on. The kids actually feel like friends and the 50s nostalgia is pretty good here. While some of the movie is cartoonish feeling, the juxtaposition between what is happening to them and the way the film is shot actually makes these scenes with Pennywise feel almost alien or dreamlike. And the scenes with Pennywise actually hold up pretty well here. The best scene is the one with Georgie, of course, minus that weird close-up on his mouth at the end. Now, from what I heard, apparently Tommy Lee Wallace, the director of the miniseries, wanted this film to feel like a John Carpenter film, which makes sense since he worked on Halloween 1 and 2 and he directed part 3, but I feel like it comes up pretty short in that atmospheric section most of the time and feels more campy than intended. Nonetheless, if it's on TV, I might sit down and, watch it and have it on in the background and I wouldn't complain, but once the adult stuff takes over, I might just, mute the TV. So the second best adaptation of It is going to have to be It Chapter 2. Now this is a big movie, like it feels grand in scale. The mirror sequence and the thrilling final fight feels huge, and sure, CGI is used a lot in these sections, but I don't think they take away from the narrative. Now the main problem in half the film is the middle section sort of drags on when they're all on their own, but the opening sequence at the fair, the reintroduction of the characters, and also like the transitions during that part, as well as the Chinese restaurant scene when they first meet up is a lot of fun. Then it drags on a little bit until we get to the final and the climax, and then after the climax is done, I think Bill Hader really carries the film with his arc. Now that isn't to say I think the film is ever boring, I just think it goes on a little too long in the middle acts, although I think this is a great follow-up to the Chapter 1, and yeah, if you like the first film, you might as well finish it off with this one. So that only leaves one It adaptation to take the top spot, and this is going to have to go to It from 2017. It's basically the kid's storyline from the novel, and I think it works really well as a whole story that doesn't really need a follow-up, but of course the novel has a lot more to cover, so part 2 was inevitable, plus it made like $700 million, so part 2 was going to happen even if that section of the story is less interesting. The kids here all feel like real kids, and the late 80s setting is nice to see, and it's done pretty well here. I also think that Pennywise is at its scariest here. Now sometimes that doesn't make a lot of sense because originally the clown entity is supposed to draw his prey in before he then attacks them with their fears, where here he's mostly just a scary clown the whole time. But for what it is, it works pretty well. The new Georgie scene, the projector scene, and the final fight are all highlights of the film, and the glue of the film is really the kids and their clear chemistry. So all in all, if you're gonna watch any It adaptation, start with It Chapter 1. If you like it, finish the story with Chapter 2. But you don't have to go back and watch the miniseries now with this new version, and I don't suggest watching WoW, but if you are curious, do check it out. There are some scenes that are direct adaptations from the miniseries in the 90s to the WoW adaptations in 1998, and they are funny to see like just how they do it in India. Like the Georgie scene is now in a pool as opposed to being in the sewer. And yeah, like the projectors scene in the newest one, and I think it was like they were looking at a photo album in the first. I think it's a photo album in the WoW, but it looks really weird. So if you want to try to find those scenes in there, it is kind of worth watching. And I also want to thank my patrons for supporting the main channel and allowing me to do these other ventures as well. I'd like to thank both John F. Gilman and Toastface for joining recently. And until next time, I've been Aaron, and keep on keeping on.